you're gonna break into. Crazy love, you got me worried. I don't know why you make me blue. Every time I call your telephone line, I gotta stop and hang up on you.
Time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri. It's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. Busy show schedule for you today. As usual, we try to keep it busy. Marty Mulcahy's scheduled to come up. You know how that always works. You know, we call him, then he says he doesn't like the connection, then he calls me back. You know, he blames it on my long-distance carrier, you know. Whatever. Don't forget the show is being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you're looking for a limo and a really hot driver, got to give my girl Cat a call. 202-351-7496 is how you get a hold of her. 202-351-7496. Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service is available all across the United States and even in Canada. Call her today, 202-351-7496. Tell her Billy C sent you, but just remember, she's my girl. Also, the show's being brought to you in part by Kemper Tomkovich. That's right, if you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble, and that is Kemper Tomkovich. 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Let Kemper Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. Show's also being brought to you in part by my friends down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Hey, if you live in that area, the Lake George, South Glens Falls, all them other falls, those areas, check it out if you haven't been there already. I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Live entertainment, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Friday and Saturday is usually a band there, or me. We're doing the Friday night fights. And then, of course, we got the girls. That's right, playing beach volleyball on Sunday and Monday. So check that out. You can call ahead, 518-792-4869. Always great people, great food, drink specials all the time. And don't forget, if you like hot sauce on your wings, And if you're a man or woman enough, ask to try the Billy C hot sauce, but you got to make sure Craig makes it. 518-792-4869. And finally, the show is being brought to you in part by the Whitehall Athletic Club. If you've been looking for a club to join, a country club mentality, but with an athletic background, you got to go with the Whitehall Athletic Club. Check it out, www.whitehallathleticclub.com. And speaking of which, we're going to have a great show, boxing event there, live boxing, World Championship. My girl, Chevelle Fist of Steel Halbeck, going against one of the toughest female fighters in the world today, Victoria Cisneros, for the WIBA World Junior Welterweight title. That is happening on August 24th. Get your tickets now. If you're coming in from out of town, drop me an email. I'll hook you up, man. Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. For all the ticket information and more information about the show, visit the website, www.whitehallathleticclub.com, or call 518-832-3663. That's 518-832-3663. Like we always do, we're going to read some emails out of the mailbag and give a shout-out to the people in the chat room. Kaylee is quoting the Nationwide Insurance line, which she's obviously making fun of my, if you need a limo in someplace in the United States. But anyway, hey, I meant to tell you, don't forget about our New York sports show. That's right, Talking New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike airs live tomorrow right here on BillyCBoxing.com, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That's New York time for you people in Texas. But check it out. We're talking about, we're breaking down, we're getting ready for football. So we're going to break down the NFC. We're going to look at the NFC, what we should expect. And Brooklyn Mike and myself are going to have some fun with that tomorrow. If you miss it live and you don't want to be part of the chat room, just check it out. The replay is up right on the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Just click where it says, Talking New York Sports. So, hey, we got a new writer on board, the beautiful Sony Thompson. And I got the pleasure of working with Sony down in Florida on an event not too long ago. And we cut a deal, and she's going to be contributing to the site. So check out her new column. Not only is she going to write about boxing, but she's going to report on the whole Florida sports scene, including some Tampa Bay Bucks stuff and the Rays and the Marlins and all that other stuff. So check it out right on BillyCBoxing.com. Let's get into the emails. Yeah. My man Hawk says, about the show yesterday, he says, good show. Hey, thanks, Hawk. You're a good guy. Hawk says, good show. I say, good guy. Hey. But, James Keister. James has been a great, corresponder. I don't know. What do you call it? Interaction. Yeah. He interacts well with the show. I guarantee you this guy's been, people bust his chops. Hey, James, did you fall on your keister? But anyway, I couldn't help it. But anyway, my man James says, Teddy Atlas and others keep talking about a new scoring system and how much better things will be in 2016. Now, of course, Jimmy's talking about the Olympics and the scoring and all the controversy that we continuously get. Remember, this is a new scoring system anyway that they're trying. People didn't like the last one, which was kind of absurd if you ask me. 5 judges, they all got to click the same point at the same time to have it register. I mean, but and this one actually they score it and then they drop the high and they drop the low and they take the 3 average in the center. But it's the system itself that I don't like. But anyway, that's me. He says things won't be better in 2016. He says no matter what scoring system they use, it has to be applied by honest, knowledgeable judges and referees. When a guy goes down 4 times in one round and doesn't draw a single 8 count and wins the match, that's piss-poor application of the rules, either because of ignorance or dishonesty. Personally, I suspect dishonesty. Jim, I don't see why they don't adopt a scoring system similar to what we do in the pros. Wouldn't that be a much better way to approach it? You see, the amateurs And I may be totally wrong because I got to admit I don't follow the amateurs as much as I probably should. I just don't. But the problem with the amateurs is that they're scoring the punches landed, and then there's a discrepancy of who's scoring what, if the punch landed, how they score. So a knockdown in the amateur rules, the way they score, counts as the same as a jab that lands flush. So, I mean, if you get a point for landing a little pitty-pat punch, you're also getting a point for landing a knockdown. So 4 knockdowns in a round or 3 knockdowns in a round, like you suggest, counts as 3 punches. So the other fighter could land 3 jabs and land all 3 and get 3 punches, and the round is even. So I agree. I think the scoring should be I think they should go to a scoring system that's similar to the pros, at least in terms of awarding a round. Now, granted, they only fight 3 rounds, but you could still, as long as they don't have an even round, as long as you gotta score a round for one fighter or another, you can't have a draw. You have the referee be the tiebreaker or something. But I don't see why they don't do that. But anyway, I agree with you. It may be more towards dishonesty. It very well may be, and then again, it may be ignorance too. So, great email from Jimmy. The next one is, my day wouldn't be complete without this guy. I love getting emails, and I'm serious. I love getting emails from Given Quality because generally, when he's not on the Floyd Mayweather rules kick, he's pretty good. But let's see. This one says, Billy, go check my YouTube page. I got Floyd Mayweather Jr. fights on there because you must have forgot how dominant and how exciting his fights were. SMFH. He's shaking his effing head. He says, watch and enjoy. Eventually, I put all 43 fights on. I wouldn't expect anything less than you, Given Quality. Of course you should have all 43 of his fights on. I'm sure his fights were exciting. There were some exciting fights. I just, I'm coming. Can't you guys give me a break with him? I'm coming into my own with him, aren't I? Haven't I been a little more positive with Floyd? I try to follow my man George's rule of just, focusing on his career inside the ring, and I'm doing better. You're getting me to sip the Kool-Aid. I'm not going to guzzle it. I'm not going to tell you how great he was. But he's definitely the best today. I'll give him that. I just don't think he's as great as some of you think. But I'm coming around. You guys got to cut me a little slack, right?
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C. dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase, coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show. You're watching a replay on LDL TV. Maybe some of you lucky premium podcast subscribers are listening to the show whenever you want, because that's what you get when you become a premium podcast subscriber. Hey, man, it costs $15 a year. You get a minimum of 10 hours a week of content, and it costs $15 a year. Even if you only listen to the show once a week, it's still worth it. You can't even go to a bar. You can't even go to a bar and drink 2 beers. I know I can't go to a bar and even have a scotch or 2 and tip out the bartender and get away with less than $15. I mean, come on, man. And then this way you can listen to the show whenever you want. When you're driving, maybe when you're working out, maybe when you're cooking. You know, we got listeners. I love that. Forget who told me. I was cooking dinner listening to the show the other day. You know, I like my man Alex T, who says, I took a vacation with the kids and they were singing crab cakes all day. I had to shut your show off, you know. Anyway. Hey, don't forget about the forum, man. We're trying to resurrect it. You know, the forum over on BillyCBoxing.com. You know, it's like me and Dave Murphy are always chatting back and forth. You know, get involved, man. Post something. You know, we just want good people. So if you're not a good person, we don't want you over there. But if you're cool and you want to talk about boxing, go on over to the forum. It's easy. Visit the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Hey, don't forget about the Billy C Challenge. That's back up and running. It's right on the website. Same thing. And don't forget about my book, man. If you guys want to get an early copy of the book, visit the Billy C Book Club on BillyCBoxing.com. The book's going to be out in November. But if you want to get some of that, you know, the very first copy signed and everything, we got a special going on, and I think it expires next month. So check it out, www.BillyCBoxing.com. My man Given Quality goes on to say, I agree, Oscar was greedy and wanted the payday, but it was put in the contract that Oscar couldn't gain a certain amount of weight after the first weigh-in. You know, you said the most important thing right there, Quality. It was in the contract. Huh? He didn't have to sign the contract. If he didn't want to make the money, he didn't have to sign the contract. You know, I mean, again, I'm sorry. I can't feel sorry for anybody that signs a contract and then cries about it afterwards. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, you know. He says, that's why come fight night, he needed an IV, and Pacquiao was actually heavier than De La Hoya in the ring. It's the BS catchweight thing that I can't stand, and the fact that the media just glosses over it while it's still claiming Pac is on Floyd Mayweather junior levels. I hate the catchweight level thing, too. I don't like when you say, this is for a junior middleweight belt, but you can't weigh more than 150. I agree with Given Quality, and it's BS, because the catchweight, there's so many friggin' weight classes. What do you mean a catchweight? You know, I mean, you're going to fight at welterweight. You can fight anywhere from 141 up to 147. That's welterweight. Welterweight. You know, I mean, there's the swing right there. You know, 144, you can't weigh more than 144. Well, what are you talking about? Then that's not a welterweight fight. Yes, it's welterweight at 144, but if you're capping it off at 144, that's not right. So I agree with catchweights. I hate them. And I also agree with Given Quality that the media glosses over it. But you know why, Quality? Because half the media doesn't effing know. They don't know the difference. All they're looking at is the O's. All they're looking at is a record. You know, how many fighters that are out there, young fighters, I'm not saying Floyd, but other fighters that might be 17-0 or 20-0, that can't fight a lick. I tell you right now, Deontay Wilder could be one of them. Could be one of them. You know, we look at guys like Travis Kaufman. Remember him? You know, heavyweight. I think he's even fighting this week. You know, you look at a guy like him, and he's undefeated. All of a sudden, he fights a guy like Tony Grano and loses, and everybody's like, oh, man, Grano. Grano doesn't even train. That's the networks and the media. So I agree with giving quality. You know, they're the ones that don't even get it. They don't understand. They probably don't even know about the different weight classes anyway. So I agree with that. You know, he says, now the accomplishments are just not the same. Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Oscar De La Hoya was at 147. De La Hoya is getting knocked out or stopped. You know, De La Hoya, first of all, listen, Floyd is just starting to work to try to knock people out now, I think. But anyway, you know, you're biased to Floyd in a positive way. I'm biased to Floyd in a negative way. So someday, given quality, we're going to meet, and you know, we'll have a drink or a soda or I don't know, a meal or something, and I'm sure we'll get into some nice arguments about Floyd. I just wish you were more well versed on some of the past greats, because then maybe we could have a decent discussion. Given says, first time I agree with Dax. All right. Dax was getting, you know, I felt bad yesterday. You know, I forgot that it was Dax's birthday. I was all ready to wish him a happy birthday, but it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before, so I missed it. And I'm on the air yesterday live, and I'm saying, that's right, it's somebody's birthday. Whose could it be? And all of a sudden I realized it was Dax's. It was Dax's birthday. But, man, he was getting beat up a little bit in the chat room yesterday. I don't know why. I thought his segment was great. But J-Man, what's up with J-Man? You know, Fridays, it's always slow in the chat room. I got my favorite person in there right now. But, I mean, you know, I don't understand. I don't understand why it's slow, you know. But, anyways. He goes on to say, this is the first time I agree with Dax Khan about punch-drunk fighters fighting punch-drunk fighters. It doesn't matter the age nor the gender. It's not worth the punishment the fighter is going to endure. People love to watch a train wreck, but it's still not right. Legacies get ruined, fighters lose brain cells, and they lose the potential ability to make money after the sport in the real world because they are not mentally able to comprehend and articulate themselves without sounding like a slurring, slow person. I can't support that. You know what? If anybody can support that, they're nuts. You know, if you think that, you know, I support it, I don't, given quality. What I said was, when you look at guys that are in good shape and they're struggling to make a living and they don't have the wherewithal to make a living doing something else. You know, what else can they do if they don't get into managing or training or something? But I agree with you. You know, when I was saying a senior league yesterday, if you're referring to me thinking that a senior league might work, you know, I said use bigger gloves, use headgear. And, of course, and I didn't mention it yesterday, but, of course, you know, you'd have to subject these guys to a battery of tests. And, again, I'm going to go back to what I said a long time ago about doing a head scan when fighters become a pro. And, you know, by doing that, it would open so many doors because a doctor could take that, what we got to term as a normal scan, even though someone made an interesting point and said, hey, you know, a guy turns pro after 300 amateur fights. How do you know his brain is even normal at that point? You don't, but at least you have something to go by compared to what they go by today. Today, all they do is they look at the line that a doctor will use when they look at a head scan is within tolerance. So if a man or a woman gets a head scan and it's within tolerance of what that brain should look like, then they would say, well, they're normal. If a doctor had a scan to compare it to and saw that there was a deviation or a fluctuation of those two scans, then they could say, hey, look, you know, this is what the scan looked like 10 years ago. This is what the scan looks now. There looks like there's some abnormality there. Let's not let them fight. You know, so, you know, I don't understand why that isn't adopted. It's a very easy thing to incorporate. You could say from this day forward type of a thing, and 10 years from now you'd be reaping the benefits. So I think it falls back onto greed. But as far as given quality goes, he makes 110% valid points here about punch-drunk fighters, and I can't disagree with him at all. No, I don't know your birthday, Kaylee. I wish I did. I'd like to know the month, the day, and the year. So let me know. UFC Fantax says, I think Given Quality is a huge Dan Raphael fan. I don't think so, my man. But then again, I don't know. Maybe he is. We've Given Quality's never discussed Raphael, but just judging by some of the stuff that my man says, and at times, like the last email I just got, I think that he's not a big Dan Raphael fan because Dan Raphael doesn't really know the sport. He's a good writer, and he's a reporter. He's the entertainment. I call him the Entertainment Tonight of boxing. He finds out the info. He gets you all the statistics, but ask him to really talk to you about the nuts and bolts of boxing. And I think he's like, hubbard. But, Kaylee says, what are you wearing, your smarty pants today? No, I'm wearing shorts, man, actually. See, this radio gig lets me, wear T-shirts. Normally I wear a nice collared shirt, but when in the summer, when it's really hot. But when I do the TV stuff, we have to dress nice. I say we. That's because I'm, there's more than one of us. Thank you for the email, UFC Fantax. We got now this email right here, I think, could be from Mike Alvarado himself. The nickname is Grotto303. Grotto303. Now, you know that the 303 area code, right? So Grotto303, he says Alvarado, and he puts a trademark line there, which gives me another reason to believe that it could very well be Mike Alvarado himself or somebody within the team, and says, we're ready for war. Rios gets KO'd within 8 rounds. If this is from Grotto303, if you're Mike Alvarado or part of the team, you should drop me an email, and I'll put in a good word, get you on the show real quick with my publicist who does the scheduling, Amy Green. So I would love to have you on, especially talk about that. Now, I'm a big thank you, Grotto303. I'm a big Bam Bam Rios fan. There's no question about that. But I like Alvarado too. He showed me a lot of heart in his last fight because he was definitely down on all those scorecards. There's no question about that. He was losing on all the scorecards, and he had to come back and win by knockout. He also had a serious bloody face, man. He was bleeding all over the place. He looked like a stuck pig. But anyway, thanks for the email. I got a couple of more, including some, I think some negative ones from my man Bobby, or at least some disagreeing ones. But all of that's going to have to wait because scheduled to come up next is my man himself, Marty Mulcahy. And all of that's coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game.
Check it out, www.kofantasyboxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's
wrong,
the problem?
Billy
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask you
wrong
to
speech.
leave.
What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And I want to welcome the Fight Now audience. Just join us like they do every day, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, well, then you're a loser. You gotta call your local television provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call them. For all information about the channel, you can visit their website, www.fightnow.com. Speaking of now, you know, I got shamed into this, so I guess I better... My man from Max Boxing, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Marty Mulcahy.
You know, I'm sorry, training is part of the fight as far as I'm concerned. And if you lack in that fundamental aspect, you deserve to lose. End of story. When you come to my town, you're going to lose no matter what you do.
Who does it better than Marty Mulcahy? Not many, but you know one thing, you can't go to his town. Joining us right now, Marty Mulcahy. What's up, brother? Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I am, but I have to call
God,
you back.
why does that always do that to you? It must be a Colorado thing, man. All right, call me back. I guess he's got such a bad connection. You know, he's the only one. He's the only one that it does that to. God, I know we were playing the... we even gave him his little intro. But that's terrible. That's terrible. I wonder why it does that. You know why? I'll tell you why. I figured it out, and I'm going to tell him right now. It's because he's got that... I know what it is. I know what it is. Hey, Marty, I know what the problem is. Can you hear me better now? Are you there?
Actually, I'm having the same problem, it sounds like.
Huh, that's weird because...
no, actually, hold up. You're all the way in now.
What's that?
It sounds like you're all the way in now. I guess something clicked.
Oh, well, maybe it's that interceptor or whatever the heck you got on your phone system. Because, that happened with Alex, too. And then when he calls in, I don't have an issue when he calls. But when I called him, it wouldn't let me through or something like that because the studio line is weird. It's like I don't think it can. I don't think your system can pick up the phone number or something. I don't know, man. But
I think you're being monitored by the FBI or something like that.
Probably.
That's got to be the only logical
Marty, it's probably true from all the other activities I like to engage in, But anyway, last week there wasn't that much going on. Magladano.
Not that much going on this week. Why are you calling me?
Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit last week about about a fight from last week is Deontay Wilder. I can't get this warm and fuzzy feeling about this guy yet, and I almost feel guilty about it. I mean, I want to like the guy, and it's just that he hasn't fought anybody, and I mean, his best opponent to date happens to have been the fighter he just blew away last week in Kurtzan Manswell. But then, the knock on Manswell sometimes is he doesn't show up to fight. Well, tell me about this guy. Is he a real deal or what?
I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, how often can we say about a boxer, 24-0, 24 knockouts, won a bronze medal at the last Olympics, that, I don't know how good he is. And that's exactly what we have to say about Wilder. We still don't know how good he is. In the one round that I saw against Manswell, he had a nice-looking jab. He stepped into it. It was nice and long. He has the size. He's 6'7". He's not like a thick heavyweight. He is a long, lean. He might be able to be pushed around there by a smart guy. We know his fists are good. Hey, 24 knockouts, even if you're going against tomato cans, that's good. But are his feet good enough? And the question I have about him that I have with all American heavyweights who come to the sport late in life, I don't think he started boxing until age 20 or 19, is what's he going to do when somebody fights back and he doesn't have the answers right away, when he has to go to a plan B? I don't know if he can adapt to a plan B, and the opposition they're putting him in with hasn't forced him to do that yet. I want to root for him, but like I said, the 24-0, when Edwin Valero was 20-0 with 20 first-round knockouts, you could see the skill behind it. You could see it in setting up. He was a guy who boxed since the age of, 9, 10. He grew up in the sport. You can't say that about Dominic Wilder, so he doesn't have those not special abilities, but he doesn't have the fundamentals just completely down yet. He doesn't do anything by muscle memory. It looks like he still thinks about it before he does it. So he's still a work in progress. And the thing that got me is I tuned in obviously to watch Deontay Wilder, and through the whole fight card last weekend, I was thinking, the best part of this is Paulie Malignaggi, his announcing. I was really intrigued by him. He did really good on the announcing side. And even after, everything was said and done, I was thinking more about Paulie Malignaggi's announcing than it was about Deontay Wilder. He didn't exactly blow me away in the ring like he did his opponent.
Yeah, well, I also question the division he's in. I mean, I know he's real big, but he's not very heavy, and when you see those,
he could be pushed around in there. And
exactly,
let's face it, all the talent at heavyweight is over in Europe right now. And the type of opposition he's fighting, it's almost like Olympians. They do good against each other. They build up 115 records and they're looking good. Then they go over to the Olympics in Europe and they're fighting a different style. They're lost and they start to lose. So is the same thing going to happen with Deontay Wilder when he fights one of these experienced, Eastern European boxers, or even somebody like a Price or a Tyson Fury? Is he going to be able to take that step up? Does he have, the word I was searching for earlier is the intangible. That's something that you can't explain, but you see it. Does he have the intangible to make him even, a B-level fighter right now on the world level? In America, I think as far as American heavyweights go, you rate him just behind, Seth Mitchell coming up. He's still behind Chris Arreola. Jennings, perhaps, out of Philadelphia. You rate him even with him right now. He's top 10 in America as far as American heavyweights go right now, but that doesn't even make you top 10 in the world anymore, where it used to be if you were top 10 in the USA, you were one of the best in the world, and you can't say that anymore.
Yeah, well, the whole top 10 system is awful, and yesterday I was getting into, the titles, and you look at, you take a heavyweight belt, for example, you could have possibly a heavyweight champion, an interim champion, a champion in recess, and a super champion, all claiming that they're champions
from the champion emeritus as well.
From the same sanctioning body. You know what I mean? So for all of those champions, a regular champion, a super champion, an interim champion, a champion in recess, 4 different champions for one sanctioning body times 5, you got 20 world champions potentially, which is ridiculous. But as far as Wilder goes, it's a shame. You know, it's a shame to see a guy like that who's bragging how good he is. He reminds me of the other kid. He's like 30-something and Rodriguez. He's a Texas. He's based out of Texas, right? And he's a guy. I think it's David Rodriguez, and he's a heavyweight who brags the same way. And you know, you look at the resume and they fought no one. You know, and it's a shame because they're going to get a shot. I mean, how does boxing allow this to happen? What is it? It's really the infusion of all these sanctioning bodies. It has to be.
Yeah, it is, and at least with Deontay Wilder, you can go back and say he won the bronze at the Olympics. So that is an achievement which David Rodriguez can't claim. And to be fair to him, until this weekend on last Saturday, he hadn't been calling out the best guys. So he was quietly building up his record. On undercards down in Mexico, on Golden Boy undercards and stuff like that. And let's mention that as well. He has Golden Boy behind him. He signed on with their promotional team. And they haven't been in a rush to recoup their money from signing him. So they're letting him progress at a slow rate. And he is a guy that they're going to have to do that with because, as I said, he came to boxing kind of late. And the other thing I think is a positive for him, he's been like in David Hayes. He helped David Hayes prepare for his fight against Derek Chisora. And he's been in a lot of heavyweight camps. So that's good. You know, he's been with champions. He sees what the champions go through to get to that state, and he looks like a hard worker. So maybe through working with these other champions, he can. Some of that might rub off on him by osmosis alone.
Yeah, Seth Mitchell, I think, could very well be. And I wasn't really on the Seth Mitchell bandwagon, but he very well could be that guy. We're all looking at him saying, well, he was able to withstand the attack and get hurt by Chaz Witherspoon, and we forget the fact that it's Chaz Witherspoon. Maybe that wasn't all that great of a feat, but at least he deserves a shot. I'm a little disappointed in Areola. Not all of a sudden we're talking about the heavyweight division, but I'm a little disappointed in Areola and his lack of activity. Do you think that's based on his promoter, which seems to be the MO? They're just waiting for another big shot, or what?
Well, at the end of last year, he was actually getting in the ring more. He was slimming down. I think he did have one or two fights scheduled which fell out, or didn't really fall out, but the main event on the card fell out, so his fight fell out along with it. Plus, I think he's still with Goose and Tudor promotion, and they only have like 3-4 really big cards where they can get two of their boxes on HBO to pay for them. So I think that's a problem as well. He's not with one of the bigger promoters who can keep him active all the time on their own cards. So you might need to be farmed out to other cards.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with those that level promoter. They don't try to make him the number one guy, and if they are, it's on a one of those mediocre shows, and they're waiting for the big bucks somewhere else. Hey, one thing, you probably didn't get to see it yet, but you will, I think, now after, I think beginning Sunday. I was in Georgia, and I called the fight, right? I called the fight with Grady Brewer and Jorbis Barthélemy. What a Marty! I can't even begin to tell you about my experience there with this new promoter and all the things that happened and everything. It's really over. You drinking a bunch of beers, me drinking a bunch of scotches, and laughing about it all night. But the fight itself, actually, I got to see a really hot-looking female fighter. Hot in more than one way, and she's very, very talented, and I had predicted that she'll be a champion. I mean, she was really good. I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. Her name is Marcilio Corneja, so keep an eye on her. She's 1-0 now out of Las Vegas. But Jorbis Barthélemy bit Grady Brewer on the neck, vampire style, got disqualified, and Grady Brewer now is got the IBO Intercontinental title. What's your thoughts on a fighter biting an opponent and being DQ'd? I mean, obviously you think of Mike Tyson, but it's happened before many times.
Well, not only do you think of Mike Tyson, but you also think of Teddy Atlas, because he's the guy that came out afterwards and really gave the best explanation for why a boxer would bite his opponent. And that's a combination of frustration and wanting to get out of there. I didn't see the fight, but I really appreciate Brewer. Brewer's a high-level gatekeeper, the type of guy, if a prospect or contender is not 100%, does not prepare for it, he will defeat them. So appreciate Grady Brewer, and I'm assuming that Barthélemy was behind and just didn't know what to do. He wanted a way out of there. And Grady Brewer's the type of guy he's not going to knock you out with one punch. He's going to punish you a little bit before he stops you. So I'm assuming he wanted to get out of that punishment.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about it is he was ahead on my scorecard. He had been winning all the rounds. The only round he had lost was the previous round to the stoppage when he got a point deducted for pushing and tackling and everything else. He was, Brewer came out in that fight totally dry as a bone. I had asked his team after the fight, what's the deal? Are you were you trying to conserve energy, and loosen up in those first rounds? They admitted to me, yes, and he's 41 years old now. He's in good shape physically, but I don't know if he had the ring shape. I don't know if he was in ring shape. So, his career very much is on the downswing, and I think it was an important fight for both of these guys. And as far as Barthélemy goes, he was a slick fighter. It's a shame, that he's kind of not too stable because this is a guy that showed me some stuff.
Well, you saw it then. What was it? Well, usually, like I said, it's out of frustration. But if you're winning the fight, what is the rationale behind biting? What did you see?
Well, I saw the same thing. He was looking to get out. What was happening? I tell you what was happening, and like I said, you got to watch it. But what was happening was every time Barthélemy got Grady Brewer close, like he would clinch him. Grady Brewer, with his free hand, would just pound the side of Barthélemy's head, which you're supposed to do. When you have a hand free, they tell you all the time. He wasn't hitting him behind the head. It was on the side of the head. It was legal.
Yeah,
and that was
that popping, yeah.
Right, popping you in the head, right? And that was infuriating Barthélemy. You could see him just seethe from that. And, at one point, early in that round, it happened. And next thing you know, he had headbutted him first. Barthélemy intentionally headbutted Brewer first, and then just reaches around, and LDL TV, who did the production, has the motion, the close up, the whole nine of him just biting him. And at the end, it's not even funny, but I went up to him and I saw like all his teeth marks in the guy's neck, and you considering that they have a mouthpiece in there and you can still see the teeth marks.
That's what I was going to ask about. Did he spit it out before he bit him?
No, he had it in there. I remember now that's going to be a memory. Of course, the Mike Tyson spitting out Van der Zier was a classic. But another one people forget is how about the guy on Bahua, right? Remember he bites a guy right in the back. He just took a chunk out of the guy's back right on. I think it was Tuesday Night Fights.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday night. Now, was that against Galata? That might
yes,
have been against Galata.
It was against Galata.
Yeah, okay, and and that's a guy. He didn't have to bite you to get out of a fight. He'd hit you low. He'd do, or he'd just collapse mentally. That Galata, he's one of the boxers from the '90s where you say to yourself, if he had it together mentally, he was a champion. He just could not. Whenever he got to the big stage, something went squirrely in his head.
Yeah, no, I agree. This weekend we got a slow week. There's a couple of fights on. I think the most interesting one, ESPN's got the Darley Perez against Bader-Diamir Mammadjanov, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, good luck with that pronunciation.
Yeah, well, it was easier.
It's going to be pretty. That card, it looks like a showbox card. That is a quality card, I think. If you look at it overall, you got young fighters facing off against each other. 3 undefeateds, one guy, a really good prospect whose 2 losses have been really, pretty hotly disputed, and he never gave up mentally or physically, and he's just a fighter. I think that's a pretty decent fight card.
Yeah, well, who do you think's going to win in the main event? Darley Perez was actually a last-minute sub, right? Wasn't Casitas supposed to fight Mamadula, or is it the other way around?
No, Mammadjanov is the last-minute replacement.
Okay.
And I really had a really hard time tracking down his resume. I mean, he's Uzbekistani, and they have a really good amateur program there. And I could only go back and find him appearing on one Asian Games back in 2009. So making the Uzbek team is, difficult in itself to make that traveling team. So I'm assuming he has a really good amateur pedigree. And the people I talked to down in Houston, they say he's got talent. And also got an email back from a friend in Germany who saw him live and said, this guy has star potential. But when you look at YouTube, you only have like a couple fights of his. You don't see it there yet. And Kenny Anderson, who's a good trainer down in Houston, he doing outrageous quotes saying, you know, at this point he's more developed than Manny Pacquiao was at this stage in his career, and there's some really high expectations behind him. But until you see it on video, you know, it can't be confirmed. It's like they say in the courtroom, you know, hearsay. It cannot be invoked. And I'm kind of the same way doing this, picking the fight. I've seen more Dolly Perez. He's a former Olympian, you know, a Colombian power puncher, but unlike the other Colombian power punchers, he has some intelligence behind his punches. He doesn't just wing them and hope they connect. He sets them up well, and he's got good size. And like I said, if I see more of Mama Jonov, perhaps I will pick him because I like what I've seen. He reminds you of the old 1930 fighters, you know, the lightweights like Tony Canzaneri, who just smallish guys with you know, kind of stocky, husky guys with short arms who just come at you. They keep coming straight. And he's a southpaw as well. He throws a straight right hand, but actually it's his jabs which can kind of loop, and he kind of lets his jab go and almost like a guided missile. They don't go straight. They just kind of swerve in order to get to the target. He doesn't put his full weight behind the jab. So I think there's something there with Mamajonov, but until I see more of him against Dolly Perez, I can't pick him in good conscience simply because I know more about Perez, and I believe in his skills more. So I'm hesitantly picking Perez, but I think that this Mamajonov can be, you know, what people expect him to be. Can be, you know, a Showtime or a lower HBO level type, a Victor Chinian type boxer.
You know, on television.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you look at all these other fighters, the Armenian fighters out in California, all of these guys are coming up with records like 10-0, 15-0, and when they're stepping up to the main stage or to the ESPN stage, they're delivering. They're beating their opponents who we know more and who have more pristine records. These guys are not afraid to step into the ring with anyone, and because of their amateur background, can't beat anyone.
You know, the thing with these guys too is it's just it's unfortunate that the cost, you know, boils down to dollars and cents with getting them here or them bringing U.S. fighters over there. You know, you would think that the gap would close. You know, and I think, and this goes off onto another subject, but I think that, you know, if it was more defined with webcasts, let's say, where these promoters weren't greedy trying to sell the $9.99 webcast all the time, you know, that some of these fights would give us the opportunity, if they were available on webcast, would give us the opportunity to see these fighters, and which would, in a sense, create a fan base so that you could justify the expense of bringing them here, you know, or vice versa.
Right, yeah.
And I just think that the non-thinking outside the box of the promoter of today, the greed factor, and I'm not talking about the big guys. The big guys earn the right to make the big money. I'm talking about the little guy that does the club show that, you know, wants to be the big guy, and he's just not willing to invest in it. And it's a shame because it's obvious that it's hurting the sport, and this is an example right there. One of the other fights I wanted to ask you about, Telefutura, has got an interesting matchup. Two guys that, you know, I don't even know if I like either one of them. I do like Brian Vera, you know, because he shows heart and stuff, and I happen to have this new renewed interest in Texas, so, you know, I know he's from Texas. But, you know, Sergio Mora has just never, ever, ever interested me one little teeny bit. But it is an interesting matchup. Talk about a contrast of styles. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I'm with you on Sergio Mora. He never, you know, hit my hot buttons. I just don't see anything. You can see the talent, but it's just not you don't want to say unimpressive. He does everything well without standing out in one particular department. He's a bit of a pity-pat puncher, but he sets him up and gets the punches there. Where Brian Vera is the opposite. He's a track you down, make you fight type of boxer. But if you have the feet to escape his aggression, which Mora has, he can be defeated. And I know Brian Vera defeated Mora in their last fight, but it was a close fight. And unlike most of Mora's fights, that fight was actually a little bit exciting. And he faded late in that fight, and I think that's what really cost him. And because of Vera was more active, he rightfully got the decision on the judges' cards. But I see Moore just as the more skillful guy. Going back to Telly Atlas, the guy that has more tools on his tool belt. I think he has the better feet. He's the more precise puncher. He's the more intelligent boxer. And if this fight were taking place in California versus Texas, I would have no problem picking Moore at all. But it is going to be down in Brian Vera's. I'm not sure if he's from San Antonio, but like I said, he's a Texas boxer, and they know him there. The judges there probably judge 5, 6 of his fights. They're more accustomed to his style. They're more used to him. So Sergio Moore loses fights because he doesn't throw enough punches. He wants every punch to be beautiful and to be recognized by the judges, whereas Brian Vera overwhelms you. So whoever employs their style the best, if this is a slow fight with not a lot of combinations and not a lot of infighting and it stays away from the ropes, then Sergio Moore wins the fight. If it's a mauling fight where Moore is being pushed on his back foot the entire time and can't get his jab off, it's going to be Brian Vera. Like I said, I have more confidence in Sergio Moore. He's also scored the better victories. He did, draw and beat Werner Forrest. He has a draw against Shane Mosley. He has that frustrating type of style where if you wait with him and instead of trying to overwhelm him, you'll lose. And so I'm, like in the last fight, I'm reluctantly picking Sergio Moore. If this were, percentage-wise, I'd say, 53-47 Sergio Moore.
I don't understand with him. He looks like such a beatable fighter. He is slick defensively, but you're right. He doesn't throw enough punches. I have never seen him, not one time, in an exciting fight. Not once. I can't even give him the benefit of the doubt. Those Vernon Forrest fights, I thought he lost.
It's horrible to watch.
Yeah, oh, God.
And I think the Shane Mosley fight was the pay-per-view, so you paid to get bored.
It's terrible. And that's why he just never had any fan appeal. Plus, he was on that Contender Series, wasn't he? Yeah.
I think he won it.
Yeah, he won the first one.
Fights against Manfredo.
That's right. And that particular one, that whole thing, as we learned later on, those fighters were hindered at what they could do. On that undercard is actually an interesting fight. Antonio Escalante against Leonardo Miranda, who's a tough guy, and Escalante's got a lot of question marks. I see that maybe being the fight of the night.
It is, but Escalante is just the guy's got he's the fighter's fighter, He throws the hooks at the right time. He does everything correctly. I think that with him, the problem is he doesn't have the world-class hand speed. If he had world-class hand speed, he could be a titleist. He wouldn't be the champion, but he'd be up there. He really has that amateur background I talked about before, where you learn that muscle memory. I mean, he just knows what punch to throw at the correct time. And when you look at Leonardo Miranda, he has a nice-looking record. I believe he's 30 wins and it only has a handful of losses. But all those losses have been within his last couple of years, whenever he stepped up in competition. And I remember, I think it was Orlando Cruz who really was the only guy to knock him out. So I don't see this going to be a stoppage. I think it's going to go to distance. And I remember, Jerry Russell Jr., who's been really, really hyped. Leonardo Miranda was able to not hang in with him for 8 rounds, but he was able to last with him for 8 rounds. He has a underrated speed. He can get himself out of problems as far as when the real heavy firefight happens. But when he's in that firefight, he looks for reasons to retreat. He doesn't stand in there and fight it out and try to impose his will on a higher level guy. If you got a B-, D+ type fighter, Miranda will overpower him and defeat him. But if you got a guy with elite hand speed, with good feet, with intelligence, he can be outthought. And I think that this is going to be exactly what happens with Escalante. He's going to outthink him and be that proverbial one step ahead the entire time.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Danny O'Connor, one last thing.
Miranda has the tools. I mean, he's awkward. He's 5'7", I believe. He's like a real tall guy, and he's a southpaw. But he just mentally, like we were talking about earlier, he just doesn't put it all together mentally. It's almost like he comes in and he understands he's the B side of the card and doesn't fight up to his full potential.
We're talking about, the Olympics just ended. We laid an egg big time. Thank God for Clarissa Shields winning a gold.
Yeah,
but
is really
Yeah, it is. It is, and you know the sad part is it's our own fault. You know, we don't pick a head coach until a month before the Olympics. You know, our program has just went down the toilet. I don't know if it's because
we pick a coach who has to buy tickets to the event because he's not allowed to coach from ringside because he had some pro ties. That's another thing. They knew going to the Olympics that FIBA or AIBA was not going to allow him to be at ringside. Literally, he has to buy tickets to go to the events.
No, that's ridiculous. And why do they let some pros there? You know, and others they don't. You know, I don't know. It's
the whole USA. The other thing is, why do we need that one head coach? All these boxers, you know, the entire team for the last most of their lives, for 8-10 years, they've been in the ring with a different trainer, a trainer who's got them to that point. And once they get to the Olympic stage, those trainers have to hand them off to the Team USA trainer. It's like you're bringing a product which the head trainer doesn't understand. Just like the boxer has to get used to the trainer has to get used to the boxer to employ his best assets, and he doesn't know what they are if he only meets them a month before the competition.
You know, I've talked to some people about that, and they say, well, he's not really the trainer, he's just a figurehead because they brought all their own coaches with them, you know, which makes more sense.
They're not allowed to be up on the ring ropes with them. They can't give them that advice once they're in there. They have to literally watch from the stands as their fighter. You know, unless they got a cell phone nearby, they're not getting them the instructions that they need to be given.
Well, that's ridiculous because you get used. You know better than anyone else that a fighter and a trainer develop a relationship where the fighter can tune into just that one voice, and they develop a trust thing, and you listen to me, I'm the joystick kind of a situation, and they don't have that when they get up to the ring. The whole amateur thing has to be changed. I don't know why they just don't let them fight in a pro style, score like a pro style, and just keep the headgear and stuff on. I mean, what's the difference,
Yeah, and the other thing that we're talking about the trainer-boxer relationship is confidence beforehand. Before he steps into the ring and throws the first punch, you have to be confident walking into that ring. And, for 8 years, you have this trainer literally, watching your back, and you have that confidence and that sense of well-being. He's going to protect me. He's going to show me how to win. And now they get into the big stage against the best opponents they ever faced, and they don't have that guy on their back anymore, urging them on, giving them the correct instructions. It's gone. And like you were talking about the point system, a boxer can have 3 standing 8 counts and land 3 jabs, and it's an even fight. It is literally CompuBox boxing in the Olympics. It's not the American style we're used to. And we're going there, with tanks when we need fences. It's just, there's so many things going wrong, we don't even have the time to address it all. That's a whole show by itself. You can devote 2 hours to that.
Yeah, it's a shame. One quick question. I know you got to go, and we're actually late anyway, but Danny O'Connor was an alternate for the Olympics last time out. And, I got to see him live a bunch of times, and I actually like the kid. He's good. He lands these punches when you hear him. You're just shocked that he just didn't kill his opponent yet. He only has a handful of knockouts versus his wins. Now, he lost in a fight. It was actually a kind of a high-profile fight in his last outing. He lost, and he's making a comeback on Sunday. But he's fighting a really less than stellar opponent in James Ventry. Is this a case of, a hangover, so to speak, from the Olympics, from the styles? I mean, this is a kid that, in my opinion, has all the tangibles, but hasn't been able to get into that next level. And it doesn't seem like he's getting any better. It's almost like he's regressing.
Yeah, we talked about him before. One of the East Coast kids, I think he won a Golden Gloves title. He's got the skills, to be sure. And, like you said, was that a Showbox where he went up and got beaten by,
yeah.
I remember his name starts with a B.
It was Showbox.
Okay, yeah. And that, Showbox, like we were talking about the Olympics, if you get to Showbox, you are match difficult. There's no easy fights in Showbox. If you lose a big step-up fight like that, I have no problem with them coming back and, kind of testing his confidence, putting him in there against a couple guys who are, in other words, guaranteed wins. But O'Connor, southpaw, he has those fast hands. And you're right, we were talking about that before, where you hear the pop, but you don't see, the result that you think the pop's going to generate. You don't see the opponent stepping back after the blow and saying, that stung, or doubting himself. O'Connor maybe doesn't put his full balance into it, or there's boxers who are thinking like 2-3 steps ahead with a combination. So that might be O'Connor, where instead of totally following through 100% with the punch, he's thinking about the next combination after that punch. He doesn't follow all the way through. He doesn't get his full weight behind it. And like we said, it's called committing to a punch. He doesn't commit to it because he's already planning ahead for the next couple punches. So I think O'Connor, he's been in boxing, almost his whole life. So he's a guy who understands the sport, understands that one loss is not the end of you. And if he can get back to ESPN level competition, he can build his way back up. But because we're talking about his power, I just don't see him as a titleist. I think he's a guy that can get to the title shot, but he doesn't have that certain oomph, that special about him that's going to win him that fight when he gets there.
Yeah, well, he's got. I think that's part of his problem. I think he doesn't land his punches straight, but they certainly thud, and I hope he does well. And you know what the negative is that the networks, he may know, and you may know, and I may know that losing a fight isn't the end of his career, but the networks unfortunately put so much value.
But how you lose too. I remember, like I said, I know the guy, his opponent, his name started with a B. I remember that fight. That was an exciting fight. And like I said, once you get to ShowBox, if you get there, you're going to be matched tough. And I remember he was a bloody mess at the end of the fight, but you appreciated what he did because he never retreated despite the beating he took.
Yeah, no, I that wasn't the one where his eardrum got broke, or was that somebody else? Oh no, he was sick in that fight. That's what it was. He was there was something wrong with him. He had he was throwing up beforehand, and he didn't make any excuses. But yeah, he was in a big fight, best opponent, and they just manhandled him. That's right. It was a Mexican fight.
It was one side. Like I said, the letter B. I remember his opponent's name started with a B. It is ironic how your brain just remembers certain stuff like that. But he was manhandled in the fight, but. Like I said, he never backed out of the fight. He never stepped away and gave up. He never stopped coming forward. He was still trying to land combinations when, one punch and get out, just save yourself for the next fight. He was still in there trying to win it, and you did appreciate that.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I've always liked about him. And the first fight I think I saw he was on, it might have been even... I don't know if it was the first or definitely one of the early fights I saw. He was on the undercard of the Carl Froch-Jermaine Taylor fight, and he put on a show that night too. But anyway, hey, I figured I'd throw you an Irish bone,
Yeah. Well, I was about to say it should be a cork, not a bone.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, you have a good weekend, and we'll look forward to next week, my man.
I will do that. Hopefully there's more to talk about next week. I mean, it's a weekend where you say, honey, I'm not going to watch boxing this weekend. Me and you, let's go out and have some us time. Just say, don't tell her there's nothing on TV. Just say, I'm giving it up for you.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. She might think you're trying to pull a fast one. Hey, did you get a chance to listen to the Gary Russell interview we did?
No, I remember. I got 2 days behind on almost everything because
I
downloaded and loaded into my iPod, and then I listened to it the next day.
Check it out, and they got.
Like I said, I'm always a couple days behind.
Well, if you want, you could just listen to the interview. It's up on the site under the hot interview section. It was good, man. You get an insight of this kid that. It starts off a little slow, but then I was so happy with the interview. It's definitely worth listening to. So check it out.
Yeah, these guys are. He's got a bright future ahead of him. If he doesn't derail mentally, that guy's a champion.
That's why I want you to listen to it. I doubt he's going to derail mentally, man. He sounds very solid, and these father-son teams a lot of times were critical and they don't work, but there's so much trust between these two. Check it out. I think you'll like it.
I will do that.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Enjoy the weekend. Everybody have fun.
All right, take care. That's my main man, Marty Mulcahy. And like I said in his intro, no one does it better than Marty Mulcahy.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out the ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want it. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call them. That includes satellite and cable. For all the information about Fight Now, visit their website, www.fightnow.com. Hey, I never finished the mailbag, so we got a couple more emails. My man Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Bobby says, I know in recent times you've given more credit to Floyd, the boxer, but to say he hasn't been exciting until his latest few fights is absurd. He says when he was in the lower weights, he was an animal. He was KOing people left and right, and they called him a power machine. I don't remember that. He says it wasn't until he moved up to 40 and then 47 where his fights customarily started going the distance, because he changed his style to keep his hands from breaking every fight. That's true. A lot of people forget that he did have some hand problems, and also a lot of people forget, despite his, high and mighty anti-steroid use, he did use steroids for his hands so that his bones would heal quicker and also prevent breakage. And it's kind of funny. You see now, there really shouldn't be a problem with a steroid like that, although it was only legal, I believe, in Nevada. I think some other states actually banned that substance that he used, and subsequently he was fought exclusively in Nevada. And I wonder, I wonder if he puts in that. I wonder if he still takes that for his hand, and if he's got to report that prior to his random testing that he pulls for, if he still takes that steroid for his hand, and if it's allowed. I'm curious to know about it. To me, it's not an issue. I'm not saying it as if it's an issue, but he goes on to say he was also slowed down a bit, so he stopped shooting so many combos. I don't know about that. I think he became a little more cognizant of throwing accurate. I think he became a lot more accurate as he got a little older and moved up in weight, Bobby. So he also goes on to say, I can easily think of at least 5 fights prior to Cotto and Ortiz that were fun to watch. Corrales, Corley, Judah, Chavez, and Hatton. I did like Hatton. The Zab Judah fight, that wasn't bad. I don't know. He goes on to say, and you keep saying he's involved in robberies. I never said that. I said 1. I said actually 2. It was the Castillo fight, which he says. There's only one that was not a clear victory, was the Castillo fight. Nothing else had any controversy. Yes, Pacquiao's been more exciting, but last time I checked, he wasn't breaking his hands every other fight. and he's not a defensive fighter. Floyd is the only defensive fighter in history to be a main attraction. Did you ever hear of a guy named Willie Pep? He was a very defensive fighter. Did you ever hear of a guy named Charlie Burley? Even a lot of fighters were defensively skilled beyond belief, and they were main attractions. So that's what scares me about the future. Like when old guys like me are gone. I'm a historian. I talk about these fighters that were way before my time, but still I know about them and everything else. What's going to happen 20, 30, 40 years from now when somebody that's in their 20s or 30s or even 40s now become the old guys and they start talking about the old-time boxing? Are they going to be talking about Floyd Mayweather or even earlier than that? Are they going to be talking about the old days like the 1980s, when there were so many more great fighters prior to that? But a good email. I can't really argue much with my man Bobby. Some of the early fights. Listen, the Castillo fight, the first one was clearly a loss, in my opinion, for Mayweather. But whatever. Hey, listen, like I said, man, I'm warming up to Mayweather. I'm warming up to him as a fighter, not as a person. Maybe if I met the guy and that's another thing I've admitted. I've never met him personally. So maybe if I got to meet him and talk with him, the infamous Joe Santoliquido says that he's nothing like what he portrays, which I have a hard time believing. But then again, like I said, I've never met him. So EQX says if Oscar was over the hill when he fought Floyd, so what was he when he fought Manny? At least Floyd moved up to fight Oscar. Yeah. Again, another pro Floyd, anti Billy C email. Getting back to the excitement factor that Bobby was talking about before, not to discredit EQX's email. Thank you for the email, and I agree with you. Oscar was over the hill when he fought Floyd, and he was going down the other side of the hill when he fought Manny. But Manny Pacquiao's fights are more exciting, and I think it's his kill or be killed attitude that the for the excitement factor. Nobody ever said he was more skilled as a boxer, both offensively or defensively, than Floyd Mayweather Jr. At least I never said it. Manophonic says, what slowed down Chad Dawson was his awful performance in the first Glenn Johnson fight, and there was no rematch clause, and losing to Pascal. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have had to go anywhere near Hopkins. Yeah. I think Chad Dawson. First of all, Chad Dawson, my man K Cool, OK Cool. Wow! All of a sudden, I turn around and there's a bunch of people in the chat room. My man OK Cool. We were talking about him during the break. We were talking about Ward Dawson, and he said, "Who do you think is going to win?" I think Andre Ward is going to win the fight. I'm not taking anything away from Andre Dawson. As a matter of fact, 2011 BillyCBoxing Hall of Famer. Iceman Scully happens to be the trainer for Chad Dawson, and I like Chad Dawson. I think he's kind of boring, to tell you the truth. I think Andre Ward, although I've said, I'm going to say it again, although I think he doesn't have it, he's nowhere near boring. This guy has got some hand speed. He's got his power. Is I don't think people realize that he does have punching power. I don't know, man. I don't know. Hey, Brandon is Brandon in there. He says, I'm a football player. Hey, man, you know what? I love football. Who's your team, Brandon? I'm curious to know. But anyway, hey, listen. I just think, thanks for all the emails in the mailbag. I just think that Andre Ward will beat Chad Dawson. And we'll have to say, Kaylee's busting Brandon's chops. Says, "Oh, you play baseball? What is it, T-ball?" But anyway, Clarissa Shields wins the gold for the United States. Thank God for Clarissa Shields saving a really pitiful showing for the United States in boxing. First time since they've had boxing in the Olympics that the men's team has not taken home any medals. Thank God for the women. Once again, the women got to save the day. in life for us. Not only does Clarissa Shields win the gold, she won it by beating the Russian female fighter Nadizhda Torloprova, I think is how she says, 19-12 in their fight. Now, in addition to Clarissa Shields winning a gold, we did get one other medal, and it was a bronze, and that was from flyweight Marlene Esparza. That's it for the United States. We need to do something with the amateur program here in the United States. It's so obvious. Even Ray Charles can see the fact that it's down, man. It's down. It's bad. I don't know what to say about it. I don't follow it as much, but I will say this. I don't know what to say, but since I say whatever I want, I'm going to say this. I mentioned it yesterday. What the amateur program needs is a guy like Teddy Atlas. Now, you guys know that I'm not a big Teddy Atlas fan, man. You know that I'm not a big Teddy Atlas fan. I'm not as a pro. I think he's just got too much negativity. Although I'm a kind of a negative guy myself, but he's got too much negativity for his own lack of accomplishments in the pro ranks. And I think it transcends into, although at times I think he's entertaining, but I just don't think he's that informative. I think he's become more about Teddy Atlas. It's like, we got this guy in the chat room right now that is talking about other sports. He's in the wrong chat room, but he's talking about other sports like baseball and football. I'm going to use a football analogy. In college football, the coach is the main thing. He's the center, and the players are built around the coach. And the reason for that is because the turnaround in college football is roughly every 4 years. So you're getting a new team roughly every 4 years. So the hub of that team has to be the coach. In the professional ranks, it's the other way around, because teams pay this big dollars for the superstar quarterback, and they invest $100 million in this guy over 10 years or whatever they're doing. And if things aren't working out, instead of firing the quarterback or benching the quarterback, they fire the coach. So it's a completely opposite situation. Well, boxing is kind of the same way. When you get these pros that promoters and managers and what have you have money invested in, they're coddled and they're carried along because they don't want to lose their investment. And we all lose. Not only does the fighter lose, but we lose too as fans. In the amateurs, it's a different situation. You need a guy that's got kind of an ego. You need a guy that wants to model his team and take all the credit for the success of his team. As for he wants the credit for the success of his team rather than having a fighter take the credit on his own. Teddy Atlas would be a perfect main guy to run the United States amateur program, in my opinion. He does a fantastic job as an announcer for the amateurs. I can't stand. I mute him on Friday Night Fights, but on the amateurs, he does a great job. He's informative. He's explaining things to you. He's not with so much with the analogies and the comparisons. It's like a truck. He's hitting like a truck, or something stupid that he comes out with, and then he doesn't have his yes man and Joe Tessitore. So, I think if anything, I a spade a spade. Yes, I'm not a big fan of Teddy Atlas on Friday Night Fights. However, I think as an amateur, as the guy controlling our amateur program, and I'm talking about nationally. I'm not talking about, stick him in control of a gym. No, I'm talking about having Teddy Atlas be the man. Let's be real. He loves his ego. Let him be the man. Let him turn our United States boxing program around, and give him 4 years to do it, and have him bask in the glory when he brings home the gold next year. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Did you hear about the fact that Juanma, that's right, Juanma Lopez, Juan Manuel Lopez, for those of you who don't know who Juanma is, they're talking about letting him come back this year. Now, if you recall, he got suspended from both the WBO and the Puerto Rican Boxing Association for his comments about the gambling accusations following his second knockout loss to Salido. And, here's the thing. I think that was all BS, man. I think it was totally unfair to him. Now, that's not that I'm a big Juanma fan, because I'm not. And I thought he was a little overrated. I wanted to see Juanma against Yuriorkis Gamboa so bad, and stupid Bob Arum let that fizzle out. But I'm not a big Juanma fan, and I said that his problem is that he's got a suspect chin, and when he gets hurt, he doesn't do the right thing. He goes after his opponents even more. But I think that what they did to him, specifically Jim Gray, that scum, the guy I can't stop. I spit on what's his name? Bazooka Ike wants me to fight him, We're going to try to get 50 Cent to promote it. So, but, the bottom line is, what he did to put him on there. And then his defense, Jim Gray's going, well, I tried to have him, recant what he's saying. Well, listen, man, the bottom line is this: the guy just got knocked out. His brain was still, floating around in the skull there. Of course he wasn't coherent what he said. Then the poor kid didn't even remember saying anything. He had to watch the replay, and yet they wanted to set an example of him. First of all, the Puerto Rican Boxing Commission, it's one of their own. He was not only a good fighter, but, come on, man, he's a good guy and, a good representative for Puerto Rico. And they came down on him hard. The WBA, who pretty much gave him the pass for the WBO, got him the shot at the title. They were so proud of him with all of his defenses, even ordered the mandatory rematch with Salido and all that stuff. He comes up short. Next thing you know, they're abandoning him like the plague. I just think that I understand that they were trying to get schedule him or whatever. They were trying to, set an example with him. But the truth of the matter is, I just, I don't know, man. I think they came down on him a little hard. I really do, So I don't know. Oh, now Kaylee's telling us that Brandon's her brother, so no wonder why she's cutting up on him so bad. I guess we could see that. And Jay. Jay's in the chat room now. He's in Dubai, I guess. But I just want to know. What your hang-up was with my man Dax yesterday, Jay. I just want to know, man. I just want to know what's up with that. Jeez. But anyway, hey, listen, Juanma Lopez. I think that he got a raw deal. I don't think that he should have really been held that responsible. Yes, he said a stupid thing. There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell they stopped that fight or the first fight prematurely. Whether the referee was gambling on it or not. But I think he got a raw deal. I don't think he should have been held accountable for his comments, especially when his brain was still scrambled, still frying in his skull there. So that's my thoughts. I'm sticking to it. Hey, I got to take a break. When I come back, Gamboa's getting back in the ring. Not the one that we want to see, but a relation. And we got a couple of really good fights. I've been telling you guys about the WBF and the move that they're making to really become one of the top organizations. I got a world title fight that was just announced that I'm going to tell you about that really backs that up and why I'm telling you guys that they're making a positive move and why they're going to be among the top three within 18 months or so from now. And I think this fight that they just signed for the welterweight title is indicative of that. All of that coming up in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
Mike Tyson looked like he put on some pounds. He was fat. He went into McDonald's and he just said to them, hey, give me 6 of everything on the menu. He put on 2 watches and covered 2 time zones. I'm talking fat here. Got on a scale the other day and it said, come on, one of you guys got to get off. Last thing I heard is that he jumped into the ocean and he left a ring around the continent. He's fat.
Boxing with Billy C.
Time for another major in golf. This time it's across the pond for the Open Championship. What's at stake? That's next on Sports Shorts with me, the Sports Princess.
Want to put some wild into your weekend? Come to the all-new Mesquite Pro Rodeo. Corral seats start at just $12, and kids are always half price.
Get your tickets at Kroger and save $5. This weekend, meet the Rodeo Legends. Tractor Supply sponsors the Neil Gay Cowboy Reunion. The city ends and the Wild West begins at cool air-conditioned Mesquite Arena, I-635 and Exit 4, 7:30 Friday and Saturday. Mesquite is the official rodeo capital of Texas.
Filled with tricky pot bunkers that you have to climb into, no less, this year's Open at Royal Lytham and St. Anne's in England is certain to be tough, even for the most seasoned professional golfer. Tiger Woods, who hasn't won a major in 4 years, is looking to pick up his 15th career title. The last American to win at Royal Lytham was David Duval in 2001. Should Woods win, it would be his 4th Open, the last back in 2006. The Americans and the Europeans and everybody else in between know that this is no walk in the park, and with rain expected, they'll need more than umbrellas and a good caddy to navigate this 7,086-yard course that rewards great ball striking and punishes the rest. Whoever wins the Claret Jug will no doubt be playing some target golf at this major. I'm the Sports Princess with Sports Shorts.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway. Up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette. He's in some net. Coming at you on the count of 1.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching it on the Fight Now television channel. If you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you're not. Just call your local television provider and tell them you want it. I want it. All the information about the channel can be found www.fightnow.com. Hey, man, speaking of shows, don't forget about our shows coming up. On the 24th, we're doing a live broadcast for free. That's right, on LDLTV.com. Well, it's going to be on LDL-TV, but also will be streamed on LDLTV.com. It's going to be August 24th, live from the Whitehall Athletic Club in Whitehall, New York. Talk about, it's like that Sports Princess commercial from wherever that place was in Texas or Oklahoma, wherever that commercial was. Sounds pretty interesting. But Whitehall is a small little town. It happens to be the birthplace of the United States Navy. So we'd love to have you all there. Because we'll fill up the place. But the main event's going to be Chevelle Fisted Steel Halbach against Victoria Cisneros for the WIBA World Junior Welterweight title. That's the main event. Tickets are very affordable. Ringside seats are $50. I think general admission is $25. So make sure you get some tickets or tune into LDL TV and check it out. All the info can be found at WhitehallAthleticClub.com or LDLTV.com. So check that out. We're also doing a show September 7th in Tampa. That's right. I can't wait to go back to Tampa. Phil Alessi's show. Both that show and the Whitehall show, there's fight posters on BillyCBoxing.com. You can click to get directed to the information about those shows, how you can watch them, and how you can get tickets. Also, September 8th, right after that. That's right. I'm going to do the show September 7th, fly back to New York on September 8th, and then right here from the Billy C studio, we're going to do a post-fight show on September 8th, and that will be post-fight Andre Ward, Chad Dawson, and we'll see about that. And then it gets really interesting because we're scheduled to spend the next week, that's right, the next week in Las Vegas, broadcasting our show live from the new state-of-the-art, beautiful Fight Now television studio in Las Vegas. So I'm excited about that. We'll be doing the show. We're going to have some guest co-hosts with me and all that stuff. We'll announce that as we get closer. But I know one thing's for sure. We'll be doing a post-fight show on September 15th from the Fight Now studio in Las Vegas. And that's going to be a dual post-fight show. That's right. It's going to have the post-fight, of course, the big fight between Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. against Sergio Martinez. And down the street on the Strip, you're going to see Saul Alvarez and Josito Lopez. I know we're all rooting for Josito Lopez in that one. So all that stuff's going on, man. So make sure you mark it down. All right. I keep telling you guys about the WBF, right? And I keep telling you that they're a sanctioning body on the rise. And the bottom line is this. We have a great fight set up for the WBF World Welterweight title. It's taking place August 17th in Mexico. And it's going to be a good one because the two fighters that are fighting for this is exactly what we were saying that we want to look for. We want two quality fighters that don't necessarily have to have an O, but just tough guys. And here's the case. You have Jose Piston Lopez is going up against Jose Emilio Pereira for the vacant WBF welterweight title. Now, Piston Lopez got a record of 16 wins, 2 losses, and a draw with 10 of his W's coming by knockout. And we got Jose Pereira. He's got 21-1 record with 13 knockouts. Both of these guys are in their 20s. So not only are you getting young fighters in their prime, you're getting quality fighters fighting each other. Congratulations to the WBF continuing to move in the right direction. But anyway, Antonio DeMarco and John Molina, they're going to be going at it coming up. And that's going to be on, I believe, HBO. And, it's on the undercard of the Chad Dawson and Andre Ward fight. They had a press conference the other day, and I got some quotes. First and foremost, Antonio DeMarco said, "I fight for my family and the people of Mexico, and this is going to be a great fight for the fans." John Molina is a tough fighter, and it's going to be a war, but I will die in the ring to keep my WBC belt. I loved watching him win that first fight when he got that belt because he was losing pretty much, and just remember how he won it. He comes back to the corner, and his corner says to him all calmly, it was the 11th round, I believe, and they said to him all calmly, you need to knock him out here. You need to go out there and knock him out. And Antonio DeMarco says, yeah, okay, and he goes out in the 11th round, poof, and he wins by knockout. I thought it was great. As far as John Molina, he says, this fight means the world to me. It's what I've been dreaming about since I'm 10 years old, to win the world title. I'm going in there with nothing less than a victory. I guess what he should have said is, I'm going to come out of there with nothing less than a victory. I'm going in there with nothing less than a victory. I think it's safe to say this fight's not going to go the distance, and it's going to be a Fight of the Year candidate. He says he's going to come to fight. I'm going to fight. And I plan on leaving September 8th as the new world champion. We'll have to wait and see, man. We'll have to wait and see. It looks promising, that's for sure. We have. Remember, I was telling you we have Diaz is fighting again, but it wasn't that Diaz. No. We got. I glance over and I see Dave Murphy. He says. Billy doesn't hold Larry Holmes with very high regard. Lennox Lewis either. No, not Lennox Lewis, but I'm softening up Murph on the Larry Holmes thing. Come on, let's be real. I'm getting a little better. But we'll see what happens. Big Dave says, yeah, I've been listening for a bit, but this is the first time in the chat room. The chat room is weird. Sometimes it's hopping and sometimes it's not. And today. Apparently, Kaylee has got her brother in the ring, in the chat room that he doesn't even want to be there. But we'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. But Gamboa, not Yorkis Gamboa, Yo Elvis Gamboa. That's his name, man. Yo Elvis Gamboa. He's got a 7-1 record with 3 knockouts. He's going to be the main event, taking on Kenneth Diaz, who's 6-0 with 5 knockouts. It's taking place September 7th in Puerto Rico. I think I saw this kid fight once. I don't know. I can't remember, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure. Didn't he fight on? I gotta go to Murph. He knows. Didn't he fight on ESPN? Didn't Yo Elvis fight on ESPN or something? But anyway, we'll see what happens with that one. We have the IBF has also got a pretty decent title coming up soon, and Ricardo Nunez, who is the IBF's mandatory challenger for the flyweight title. He's got a record of 24 wins, a couple of losses, and 20 of his W's come by knockout. And he's taking on Muridi Muthani, who's the South African world champion. But the bottom line is the IBF flyweight title is vacant, and these two guys are going to be going at it to see who comes out on top, and that's going to be taking place September 1st. So another good fight for a vacant title. We're going to be getting some new blood in there, man. These title holders, which is good stuff, man. It's good stuff. I'll tell you what's not good stuff. I make this statement all the time. Fighters don't know when to say when, right? A lot of times fighters don't know when to say when. They don't know when that their career is over, and at times we try to make the decision for them, but sometimes they just can't. They can't. They just don't know when to say it's over, right? Well, it's the same with promoters, apparently, because look at Don King. I look at Don King, and I say to myself, now here's a guy that is quite possibly, going to go down in the history of the sport as being one of the greatest promoters of all time. And when you think of Don King, think of all the great fights that he was involved in and all this stuff. And even to this day, you kind of put him on that upper echelon. We talk about the top three promoters, and we say Golden Boy, we say Top Rank, and we sprinkled in Don King. At least I did. But it's really hard to do that now, and that's why I think 50 Cent, 50, is going to be taking that number 3 spot right out of the gate because of the financial backing and everything. But I think this says it all. Remember the fighter James De La Rosa? He busted onto the scene. He's sitting here right now with a 21-1 record with 12 knockouts. He was a 154-pound contender, and he signed a 3-year deal with Don King. And guess what? He's fought twice in 3 years, and he just had his opportunity to renew the contract, and he turned it down. And that seems to be the same story we hear from fighters that sign with Don of late. And, it's almost like Don has taken on that role of, and trust me, I hate this because Don was always good to me. And, I got to meet him one time actually in person that he treated me very, very well. If you guys never listened to the interview that we had with him on the show, go back and check it out, especially you premium podcast subscribers. You can get it. And I do think it's up on the hot interview section. But the thing about Don King is I've always respected him, even though a lot of people talk negatively about him and stuff. He never mistreated me, and I always judge people by how they treat me. But it's like he's taken on this role. He's taken on this role of not knowing when to hang it up as a promoter. And he clearly either doesn't have the energy anymore, doesn't have the interest anymore, but there's something, and it's probably just the boxing business, that makes him stick around. Like he's been putting on some shows lately, a couple here and there. He's got really no big names under his promotional company anymore. They leave as soon as they get the chance. It's time for him to hang him up. It's time for him to, possibly, do his victory laps. It's the time has come. It has to happen now. It has to happen. Because the last thing it's bad enough to see a fighter go out, and then you have that memory. You have that memory of a fighter looking bad. Look at us, the way we talk and think about Roy Jones Jr. right now, and all of this stuff. But it's like this. You got to give him credit where credit's due. He put together some great fights. He's become a household name. Everybody's heard of Don King, even if they're not boxing fans. it's time for him to hang it up. It's time for us to give him his credit and not remember him as a guy who can't keep fighters signed, as a guy who puts on these club-level shows. You know, he did one at the Hard Rock. He did one in St. Louis recently, and they're just club-level shows. I mean, Don King, doing a webcast at the last minute. I mean, just stuff like that. And, I don't know. I just think I think it's nuts. I think it's nuts that he's hanging on like that, and I think it's a shame. And I think that it's I think it's time that I think it's time somebody tells him. Now I know for a fact, inside information, that he's got a hang up about getting rid of people or calling it a day, and it's almost like that's what I'm saying. There's a parallel. It's synonymous to what the fighters are going through. He's still living in that juice, so to speak. He's still living in that time when he's making all this money, and he's not making any money anymore. He's not. How could he be making money off of those handful of club shows? He's not doing anything else. He doesn't have a clothing line. He doesn't have any other revenue stream except for boxing, and he's not putting on any shows. So basically, he's got his Don King empire in Florida, and that costs money to run every day. He's got stuff in. I think he owns half of the state of Ohio. So he's got gyms and a handful of fighters up there. That's costing him money. And he's just going through his money, and it's a shame. Some people might not think this way. Some people might say, good, he gets what he deserves, but I thought he brought a lot to the sport. I think when all is said and done, I think he's going to be remembered as the greatest promoter in the history of the sport. I really do. I think it would be hard to argue that point, at some point. So I hope somebody tells him it's time, Don. It's time, But another fighter parting ways with Don King. And one last thing I wanted to mention. I got an email, and I promised him I wouldn't mention his name on the air and everything else, but I'm not. But he was the last 2 days. I asked first Joe Santoliquito, and then. Yesterday, Dax Khan, about WADA and the fact that the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions, have adopted their list of banned performance-enhancing drugs, and now all the commissions are basically agreeing to the fact that they're going to use that list as their guide, right? Well, my point, which I was trying to ask both Dax and Santoliquito, and I think Dax got it more than Joe did, but was that with the four guys that we know got busted, right? The four guys that are, the upper echelon fighters, the more popular guys, Antonio Tarver, Enzo Macronelli, Lamont Udome, Peterson, and, of course, Andre Berto. My point was that, now that the ABC, these guys were all claiming, every one of them, with the exception of Lamont Peterson, was claiming that that they didn't know. They didn't know that they wanted to get tested, and they didn't know. It's Brandon. It's because I'm doing a show. It's hard to type a lot of things. He's commenting on my responses sometimes, but the bottom line is this. It's like, how do you blame a guy? How do you blame a guy that says he doesn't know, and then yet there was no guideline defined? So my question I was trying to ask is, do you guys think that these four high-profile fighters are going to get a slap on the wrist this time, and then from this point forward, everyone, and doubly hard for these guys, will have to face permanent bans or whatever the repercussions are for testing positive. It's just how do you it's like a kid, right? You know, it's like a little kid. You know, the kid gets in trouble and they don't understand what they're getting in trouble for, or better yet, a dog, a puppy. You know, I got a little. You guys know I got Rottweiler, and I got a puppy Rottweiler too, and he does something wrong, and he's looking at you, which way do I go, George? You know, and he just doesn't get it. You know what I mean? So how do you yell at a puppy, or how do you yell at reprimand a fighter for something that he's claiming he doesn't know? Now, if he keeps claiming he doesn't know and he's testing positive over and over and over, now you know he's full of you-know-what. But in this particular case, because there was no guidelines and because, like I said earlier, that there was no education on this whole issue and what they test for, how they test, and all of that stuff, it's amazing that it even went that far, you know. But anyway, you know, I just think that it's amazing that some people want these guys banned forever. Some people want them to, do a year suspension or something like that. And I say, well, my only issue is, you gotta put it in perspective. But the thing is there was nothing mapped out. You know, there was nothing mapped out prior to that. But it's tough. It's tough. And I just, it's a shame. It's a shame that that these fighters are even in that situation, and it's a shame that they got dragged through the mire, and in Andre Berto's case, he just was signed. He was picked up, 50 Cent got him, but hey, I think he's going to be all right. And Lamont Peterson, he was a guy that is going through. He's going through more stuff right now, for being honest, than anything else, But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. I'm just glad that that they finally came up with some kind of a guideline, and they picked the best one, I guess. And the ABC is even making it easier. They're saying, all these fighters can go to their website. They give them a website, and by the way, it's in English and Spanish. So, they can't say, no habla inglés, no habla inglés, so sorry. So I could say, hey, well, hey, there's a Spanish version too, so click that one. But, and yesterday Dax was saying something like, well, the fighter's got to be responsible for what he puts in his body. I don't care about what the trainer tells him or what his nutritionist says. Well, they do get to hide behind that. They get to hide behind the fact that, hey, man, I'm paying Joey Come Lately over here to tell me what to eat. He tells me to eat this, white goop crap. I'm going to eat it. It makes me stronger. It does this, does that. Whatever he says, that's what I'm paying him for. He tells me to eat chicken for breakfast and, a sandwich for lunch. I don't know. He tells me I eat it. So in that respect, and because of the money that's made and because of the investment that everyone makes, I disagreed with Dax. I think that, I guess overall, everybody's responsible for themselves. But when you get to it's like a business. If you have a legal team, if you have a corporation and you have a legal team that's responsible for reviewing whatever license issues or something, and they fail, yes, the company still gets reprimanded, and the legal team, they still have a job, or at least they're not going to be held accountable for the issue. But the company's paying them to make sure. Now, it's their fault that they didn't get the right people to do their job. Well, it's the same thing with the boxers. Ultimately, they're responsible for what's going into their system. They're the one that's going to get banned. They're the one that's going to get suspension or whatever that's going to happen to them. Not the nutritionist, not the trainer. But the bottom line is, all of those people involved, the trainer, the nutritionist, whoever, the fighter, they gotta educate themselves, Edumacate. They gotta edumacate themselves, man. They gotta go to the website, see what's legal, see what's not. Then we have this other gray area. Don't think for a minute that just because the ABC adopted this, that all the boxing commissions are going to be testing for it, because they're not. They just agree that if they do test, they're going to be going and test that scene, that from that list, I should say. So that's what's going on there. I think it's a good step. I was supportive of it when they first talked about it, and I'm supportive of it now. One last thing I wanted to mention is we're getting a lot of discussion on the big fight that's taking place October 13th, and I'm looking forward to it against Nonito Donaire is taking on Nikoshoka, and I think that's going to be a fantastic fight. Toshiaka Nikoshoka has been in that division for a long time, and I think that we're going to see really where Nonito Donaire fits. Although some of the naysayers are saying, well, Nikoshoka's older now, he's been around, he's this, he's that. Stop with the excuses, let them fight the fight. Stop with the excuses, let them fight the fight. They signed the contract. They both agreed to the terms. End of effing story. I can't stand the Monday morning quarterbacks that are starting to look too deep into this. I don't care about his age. They signed the deal. If Nonito Donaire looks good against this guy, it's yet another belt in this division he picks up. It's against a formidable foe, a dominating foe, and we have to give him credit. End of story. Now, I'm not a big fan of Nonito Donaire. I'm the one that's saying that I think he's overrated, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm sorry to say that the fight I'm looking forward to the most on that card is the co-main event. That's right, Bam Bam Rios against Mike Alvarado. And I'm so excited about this. I'm just so excited about this fight. It's not going to be a display of the sweet science. You could bet your last dollar on that. It's not going to be a display of the sweet science. But let me tell you, there's no layups in boxing. There's no guarantees in boxing. But I guarantee you this. There is no way in hell that Bam Bam Rios against Mike Alvarado will not be exciting. There's no way. It's impossible for it not to be exciting. I can't wait till October 13th, man. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. The only thing that could be better if it was on a Friday. If it was on a Friday, get it? Friday the 13th. Come on, man.
Wake up. It's time for It's too early for a trivia question.
A tear has come to my eye. I was becoming so attached to that question. It was lingering on forever. The question was, who fought the most fights from 1980 to 1989? Now, what was on the line was the Burt Gilroy story, courtesy of PrizeFightingBooks.com, and it's a decent read. It's written by the family member, so of course it's like if you've ever read the Jack Johnson autobiography, it makes him seem like a saint, but it was very interesting. Even Dave Murphy gave his thumbs up for it. Well, the question was, who fought in the most fights from 1980 to 1989? Who fought in the most fights from 1980 to 1989? And I gave you guys all kinds of hints, man. But finally, the guy who got it right, Dave Wilcox. That's right, Dave Wilcox from California. All the rich guys live in California. He knew. The correct answer was Bruce Strauss. He fought in 104 fights from 1980 to 1989. My man Dave will get this. Gilroy book was here, and courtesy of PrizeFightingBooks.com. So congratulations to Dave Wilcox. And today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym out of Brooklyn, New York. Give them a call, 718-797-2872. That's 718-797-2872. Tell them Billy C sent you. And whatever you're buying, grab the Billy C discount. Hey, sign up, man. That's who's bringing us today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. It's the last one, Murphy. It's the last one. I'm not doing it for the 2000s. Who fought in the most fights from 1990 to 1999? Who fought in the most fights from 1990 to 1999? Now, what's on the line for this one is another good book, courtesy of PrizeFightingBooks.com. It's The Holyfield Way. It's actually a book that I really liked. I enjoyed this book. This gives a totally different perspective on Evander Holyfield. It's written by James Thomas II, more commonly known as James Thomas Jr. I highly recommend this book. I know there's just a lot of books on Evander Holyfield, but this one tells it like it is, and I think you're going to learn about the real Evander Holyfield. You know, a lot of people still think of him as the God-fearing good guy. Well, read this book. And if you're the first one to get this one right by emailing me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll get it, man. Who fought in the most fights from 1990 to 1999? Email me the correct answer, and good luck to everybody. Hopefully, this one's a more common known question. I think we're going to have a winner on this one quick. So good luck to everybody on that.
This day in boxing history.
You know, Brandon, you should read. It helps you. You know, it helps you with your baseball. You know, hey, if you play baseball, maybe read a little. Maybe it'll bring up your batting average. Everybody reads. Come on, man. It's a sign of intelligence. This day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That's Campanaro and Tomkovich, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. On this day, August 10th, in 1963, Dick Tiger knocks out Gene Fulmer in the 8th round to win the vacant world middleweight title, and that took place on this day, August 10th, in 1963, in Nigeria. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you have a good weekend. Enjoy the fights. I got one more thing to say. You know what it is? Tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider right now. Tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. For all information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all Monday. Ciao, baby.